Hello everyone and welcome back to Sky is the Limit. I'm Deborah. Today we're going to look at some real-life conversations, more precisely, plane instructions and information. I'm sure you're all familiar with the safety instructions on planes. You've already heard them many times and probably in your own language. Most planes today show safety videos which are easy to understand thanks to the visual aid. Even if the flight crew are demonstrating the safety procedures, the demonstration is very clear. So what we're going to look at today generally doesn't come with any visual aid. This is when the flight crew give an update during the flight. So this can be a little bit more confusing. The instructions we are going to look at today are real-life instructions taken from a recent flight from London to LA. The first clip is quite simply asking passengers to watch and listen to the safety instructions. So let's listen and then we'll dissect and make sure that everybody understands.
The video we're about to show us, it does explain the safety, equipment and procedures for this Airbus A350-1000 series aircraft. As each aircraft can be slightly different, we do ask you to watch and listen carefully. If you are listening to any kind of personal entertainment at this time, we kindly ask you just to pause it for the short duration of our safety video. Also at this time it is important that we do have everyone in their seats with their seats securely fastened prior to any aircraft movement here at London Heathrow. Thank you.
So the first thing that we hear in this video is the video we are about to show. To be about to shows a very near future. We conjugate be plus about to plus the basic verb. The video we are about to show. So obviously this was a very near future because this was a very short clip telling the passengers on the plane that they are going to put the safety instruction clip on as soon as the announcement has ended. So, about to. So, example, I'm in the kitchen, I'm about to cook dinner. Next, we hear a very confusing series of numbers, which is in fact quite simply just the model of the aircraft. A350-1000 series aircraft. Next we hear each aircraft can be slightly different. Slightly means a little bit, but not too much. Next we hear if you are listening to any personal entertainment, so you are listening to is be the present continuous, be plus verb ing, and we use the present continuous to show an action that is happening now, the real present. This is because in English we have several forms of the present tense, and so you need to understand when and why we use each tense. So I've already made a video on the present simple, so if you don't understand the different forms of present, you can go to my video, present simple as it can be. And finally, for this sentence that we're dissecting and understanding, entertainment is something that amuses, pleases or diverts, such as music, movies, films, series, etc. Next we hear, we kindly ask you. So kindly makes the request more polite. You have to remember that in English, we don't have a polite form of you, as some languages do. So we can't change the pronoun to make our request or our question or sentence more polite. So we have other ways of showing politeness. And by asking people to kindly do something is more polite. And finally, to finish this short clip, we heard prior to any aircraft movement. So prior to means before. So prior to any aircraft movement, before any aircraft movement. Prior to plus noun phrase or verb ing. Example, I finished my work prior to the trip. The trip is a noun phrase. I didn't understand English prior to watching Sky is the Limit English lessons. Watching, verb ing. Okay, so now we can move on to the next clip. And this clip is the update immediately after takeoff. It's a longer clip, so this time I'm going to play more or less sentence by sentence and then analyse each sentence as we go. Okay, let's go.
Sorry, LA time, the current time there is 5 minutes past 3 in the morning. We have a fairly reasonable quick flying time of just over 10 hours and 20 minutes, so we are expected to arrive into LA a little bit ahead of schedule, around about just before 1:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, so now they're informing us about the current time at our destination, which is LA, the duration of the flight, and the time that we will be arriving in LA. So it's very complicated because there's a lot of information, a lot of numbers being thrown out. So in British English, we do prefer to use the time on the clock. So we say 5 minutes past 3 instead of 3:05 and 1:30 instead of 1:30. It's completely correct to use the digital time as well, but this is just a British preference. And also we can see that the flying time of just over 10 hours 20 minutes, and so when we use just over, it means slightly more. So 10 hours 20 minutes, just over 10 hours 20 minutes, 10 hours 25 minutes. Ahead of schedule means early. So let's say that the plane is scheduled to arrive at 1:30, but now it's ahead of schedule, it's early, so we're going to get in at 1:10. So let's move on to the next part of the clip.
Well, just to let you know, I'll be managing the service in the upper class cabin today. Then we have Emily, who's the cabin service supervisor, managing the services in economy and premium today.
So we heard just to let you know, which means to inform or tell somebody something. And after that, he just basically introduces the crew. So there's not really much useful information to look at here, just introductions. So let's move on.
Today, there are a few safety reminders that I do need to tell you about before you do settle down for the flight. And as the fasten seatbelt signs are still on, we do ask you to keep your seatbelt fastened for now. Your seatbelt will help keep you safe if we encounter turbulence along the way, so you should keep it fastened whenever you're in your seat.
So now we're being reminded about the safety procedures. He said the fasten seatbelt signs are still on, and still means that the action continues. Next, he says that seatbelts will help keep you safe. So will is a modal auxiliary that has many different meanings. In this example, it shows a promise or a capability. So we could say, I promise that a seatbelt keeps you safe, or a seatbelt's job is to keep you safe. Next, he tells us you should keep it fastened whenever you're in your seat. So should, as the conditional form of must or have to, is used to express advice. It's not an obligation, it's advice. You should keep it being the seatbelt. So of course, seatbelt has been replaced with the pronoun it because it's an object. Whenever you're in your seat, whenever means it's any time.
If turbulence is expected or occurs, the captain will turn on the fasten seatbelt signs and the crew will need to visually check that your seatbelt is fastened. If you're planning to use a blanket or duvet on today's flight, just fasten it over the top so we can clearly see it, and and this will save us from disturbing you during the flight.
So in this part of the clip, we've been told if turbulence occurs, the captain will turn on the fasten seatbelt sign. So this is an example of the first conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about possible events and the possible outcomes. We conjugate it with if, plus the present tense, plus will, with the basic verb. So, for example, if I watch Sky is the Limit every week, I'll understand English. Oh, that I can promise you. You will understand English. If you are planning to use a blanket, fasten it over the top of the blanket. So, here we have you are planning, the real present continuous, because the action is happening now. The plan and intention is already in your head. Fasten it over the top. It, again, is an object. We're still talking about the seatbelt. And over the top of the blanket, which means that you sit down in your seat. You put the blanket over you. Then you fasten your seatbelt. This way the flight crew can see that your seatbelt is fastened, and this will save them from disturbing you. So when we say, this will save me, this will save us, that means that we won't have to do the action. So this will save us from disturbing you. We will not disturb you, so you can sleep. It's like the do not disturb sign on your hotel room. And we have another example of will. This will save us from disturbing you, which shows a probable result. Okay, so now let's go back to the instructions.
We do ask you to please be careful when opening overhead compartments in flight of items that may fall out and cause an injury. Also, as a reminder, smoking, including electronic, smokeless cigarettes and vaping, are strictly not permitted on board, and all toilets are equipped with smoke detectors.
So now we've been told to be careful when opening the overhead compartments. Be careful means pay attention, watch out, go slowly. And they're telling us to be careful because the overhead compartments are where you put your bags, small suitcases, hand luggage. When you're on a plane, they are situated above your head, over your head. And of course, items can move around during the flight, and this may cause an injury. So may is a modal auxiliary plus base verb. In the example, they said may fall out, and may shows a possibility. Smoking is not permitted, which means you can't smoke. You mustn't smoke. No smoking. All toilets are equipped with smoke detectors. To be equipped with something means to have it. So all toilets are equipped with smoke detectors. All toilets have smoke detectors. Okay, let's move on to the next part.
Some electronic equipment may interfere with the aircraft systems, and we have provided more details of these on the back of your safety card. Also, we do ask if you're connecting your electronic equipment to the in-seat power supply. We ask you not to leave it connected while you're not using the device, just in case it overheats. Once again, as I mentioned before, our flight time is approximately 10 hours and 20 minutes. We'd like to take time to enjoy Vera, our entertainment system, where you find hours of great entertainment. You also find a selection of travel health and relaxation programs on how to stay comfortable during the flight. These can be found in the wellness and sleep sections in both the TV and audio sections. Well, it certainly will be our pleasure to serve you on board today. Please don't forget we're here to help, so if there's anything else we can do, just ask a member of the team. All I ask you to do now is sit back, relax and enjoy your flight with us today. Once again, thank you for your attention and welcome on board.
So now he's talking about electronic equipment, and electronic equipment or devices are things like iPhones, tablets, computers. He's explaining how some of these items can interfere with the plane. The USB power supply, so this is the power point where you charge your electronic devices. He asks for you not to leave it connected while not using the device. So here we see an example of a negative infinitive. Usually we need auxiliary plus not to make a verb negative, but when the verb is in the infinitive form, it's not conjugated, we just put not in front of the infinitive. Again, it, because we're talking about an object, the device. While indicates during the time. And again, we see an example of be plus verb ing, the real present that's happening now. In the negative form, you're not using the device. Overheat means that something becomes too hot or could even potentially catch on fire. Next we hear we'd like. So we'd like is contracted and the full form is we would like. Would is the conditional form of every verb. It's a modal auxiliary, so modal auxiliary plus base verb. And so would be used with any verb that you want to conjugate in the conditional form. And with most auxiliaries, we contract, especially in the spoken form. And finally, can be found. So found is the past participle of find. Find is the base verb, the present form. Found is both the past simple and the past participle. We're actually using the past participle form in this example. So when we say can be found, it means where to find something. For example, the post office is behind the bakery. The post office can be found behind the bakery. Then for the rest of the video, he's just basically saying how happy they are to welcome everybody aboard. He's just being polite and friendly and doing his best to make sure that everybody enjoys their flight. So that's the end of today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to post an unedited version of these clips, and I suggest that you watch the unedited video to make sure that you've understood. You can activate the tape script if you need to. If you still don't understand, watch the lesson again or send me your questions and your comments in the comment section. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you found today's lesson useful. I hope you understood everything, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.